All right, man. At this point, I'm just baffled, right? I mean, I'm sure you're all aware of the recent Deonte Wilder incident, that was going around in the media, basically, of him, going off on a reporter, exclaiming that we're all in the same conditions till this day, right? As a community, as a black community, right? And you could see the pain and emotion, in his face. And although I do agree with him, talking about it isn't going to help anything. And my argument was basically that why are we begging and why are we continuously bringing up these problems without aggregating together and making our own solution for our own problems? Why are we still running to the media with problems within our community when we know that the media is ran by whites? Why are we forcing other people to have empathy for us when we can change the conditions of our community on our own behalf? You know what I'm saying? If we as a community focus on aggregating wealth together, then why do we have to depend on someone else to provide it for us? It's making us dependent and it's crippling us. You don't see other races of people coming over to this country who are well off, begging for any political rights. You don't see them being asked if they wanted segregation or integration. Indians come over here and they do just fine. Asians come over here, they prosper. So it's because their family structure is strong and united, and they come over here with a purpose to aggregate and dominate industries so that they can profit and have money for generational wealth. We're not on the same page. We don't have the same mindset, and this is the problem. You know what I'm saying? And for those of you who are lost, I'm going to put up this Deonte Wilder interview so that you can hear, what he was basically saying. I'll get into more of my argument later.
You said that your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the fuck I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Shit, don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that shit. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day.
So I had previously covered this video on my own personal page and wrote a description about my thoughts. But one of my favorite Instagram comedians at Rennie had posted the same video, and I decided to reshare my thoughts, but revise it a little bit so it'd be more brief under his page so that way it can, be seen by a bigger platform. The whole argument of all the subcategories that I'm speaking on behalf of basically was we just need to stop trying to integrate and force others to accept us and stop feeding other people's pockets. You know what I'm saying? All this sentimental talk is cool, but we'll continue to be like this the more we don't aggregate and change the conditions and change our reality on our own behalf. We can't focus on trying to persuade someone to be on our page, on our side. You know what I'm saying? Why are we begging other people to have sympathy and empathy for us? It's not going to happen until we do it for ourselves. And even regardless if we gain the sympathy and appraisal from other people by doing it for ourselves, we still need to do it for ourselves. If we want to get out of these conditions, we got to come together and do it for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? The sooner that we all realize how precious of a commodity we are in this country and how much profit other people generate off of us, we'll realize and see this from a business perspective. We are trying to participate and negotiate through politics, which, whether or not you want to believe it, is an economical affair. And we have no economical value, and we can't even come together to generate wealth on our own. We're using other political parties, which are not even black-owned political parties, to be an advocate for us. They're not doing anything for us. They're not. It's not going to do anything for us until we change the conditions on our own behalf and generate wealth on our own behalf. But even still then, do you see any Asians and Indians heavily participating in politics in order to generate wealth for themselves and change the conditions of their communities? No, not really. I mean, at that point, what is there to gain if you're making business and if you're setting a standard for yourself for generational wealth? What is there to complain about then? You understand what I'm saying? They have no complaints really. That is what Ti likes to call getting on your job. You know what I'm saying? It's motivation. But for real though, we're not gonna change anything until we come together and aggregate wealth. Aggregate. Stop integrating, stop segregating, aggregate. Just like everyone else does in here and prospers, we need to do the same thing. And obviously I had some co-signers of my statement. Everybody was, a lot of people were agreeing with me. But I did have a few people who were blatantly contradicting everything that I say. And they were just, tagging and tearing at everything that I would say. And ironically, the hardest people to convince of these truths were black people. It was my own people arguing me down to the bone about how my ideas are wrong and ignorant. It's not ignorant. It's ignorant for you. It's actually insanity. Insanity. The definition of insanity is continuously chasing the same thing for a different result. That's insanity for you to continue to think this is working after so many years of participating in politics. Why are we still complaining about the same conditions? Why are other people's problems being addressed before our own? I said verbatim to one person that why would we ever count on a race of people to take care of anything that they're not even related to? We're not incompetent, so why are we still begging? Why are we still counting on voting in politics to change the conditions when we don't even have ownership or economic value in this country? Like I said, look to Asians and Indians who dominate this culture because they actually have ownership. And ironically, they're dominating us. They come here and then they set up businesses that black people are responsible for investing in the most. You know what I'm saying? You don't see them complaining. That's because we need to do the same thing. We need to build businesses and have other people invest in our businesses and tend to and cater to the needs of other people who need certain resources and get in them pockets. That's the only way we're going to stop complaining about the conditions that we're in. Until we realize that this is a business affair, we're not going to get anywhere until we come together and realize that this is business. It's like a big business. What's done has been done. Let's focus on getting out of it now. I had one person ask me the problem that majority of our people don't seem to understand. They said, stop trying to integrate. Are you for segregation? And I'm like, no, I'm not for segregation. Why do we have to make that choice? Do you see them asking Asians and Indians, hey, welcome, do you want segregation or integration? Hey, other immigrants, do y'all want to be separated or under our rule? No, dude, that is brainwash. Integration is like taking sugar, putting it in some coffee, and expecting the sugar to still be as predominant as the coffee. It's not going to work out like that. The sugar get weak, bro. The sugar gets weak when you mix it with the coffee. We are like the sugar when we integrate. I don't want neither. I want our people to come here and own, just like everyone else is able to do in this land. Why are we the only ones making the choice of integration or segregation? You've not seen them ask anyone else that. His rebuttal was, integration simply means coming together and uniting different things. You're saying that you're against integrating. Asians came here and did integration, and you see everything's working just fine. They're even doing better than whites across the board. And that is, they're not integrating. They did not come to this land and get asked the question, do you want to integrate and be under our regulations? No. If you look to the history of black people, when we chose to hit that integrate button, not the definition literal version of integrate, which means coming together, but when we chose to hit that integrate button, it was basically giving them the approval to co-sign urban renewal, which wiped out our establishments as a community. This covertly forced us to depend on the white people. Obviously, I'm against integration because if I choose to follow whatever standards you have set, not only do I become dependent on you for guidance, but it will also prevent us from establishing our own because we're under you. Like I said, notice how when we integrated, we're the only race of people begging politicians to change the conditions of our community. And for anyone disagreeing with me, I want you to ask yourself this. Why aren't other races of people begging to change the conditions of their community? Why aren't they participating in politics and begging? Because they established when they came over here and they dominated. That's why they don't complain. They stuck together, they stayed on their shit, and they prospered because of that. Why are we the only ones still begging? Please answer that. If you disagree with me, I want you to ask yourself, why is our race of people the only people still begging and the only race of people who had to choose between integration and segregation? Please ask yourself. And later on in the comments, I thought this was funny because my biggest pet peeve in a logical debate is when someone comes and argues with emotion. You can't have a logical debate when your assertion is based off of emotion. That is so annoying to me. But she came in here and she was a white lady. She was like, so you want to live alienated and not have white and Hispanic friends? Shaking my head. You know what I'm saying? Trying to make me feel bad, basically reverse psychology. I said, bro, get out of here with all that sad bull crap. I never once said that or even thought of that mentally. Friends have nothing to do with the real American dream, which is establishing business and profiting off of others. It has nothing to do with accumulating generational wealth for your people or being loyal to your people. You can have friends and do both. What does that even have to do with anything I'm saying? And then the black guy that I was arguing with earlier about who was for integration came back because he got offended because I said you don't know your history very well. If you look into the history, obviously it's a plague. Integration is a plague. He came back. He's like, well, your assumption is not only inaccurate, but also irrelevant, head ass. And he said, you make a claim that you don't have receipts to back up and you're using history to justify your snarky bigotry. First of all, using all these complex words and synonyms it's not going to do anything to change my mindset. You insulting me isn't going to do anything to change the thesis of this entire argument. What are you even talking about? How does history not justify anything? History is literally the justification behind any argument that you're trying to prove. That is the most logical thing you have for a thesis. History. What has happened, you take that and then you apply it to your assertion because that is tangible evidence. So you're dumb as hell for even saying that. He obviously didn't even understand what I just said because he's saying that I have the wrong perception of integration. At this point, this person doesn't even know what he's talking about. The definition of integration means mixing a group of people who were previously segregated. Ask yourself this. Why were we the only people segregated? So why are we the only people who have the option of segregation and integrated? They didn't segregate other races in this land and then ask them to be under them, which is integration. It's not mixing. It is actually mixing. It's taking something, mixing it amongst something more predominant and making that something that you just mixed weaker. Like I said in the example earlier, you can't mix sugar with coffee and expecting the sugar to still be as predominant as the coffee. Why would I play Monopoly or Uno with someone who continuously makes up the rules to the game for me not to win? That don't even make sense. That don't even make sense. Why would I play someone else's game when they continuously make up rules to prevent me from winning? You're dumb. Then I had to really kill him in the debate. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what Geminis do. I said I'm going to be direct with you as possible. Sheep like you is what leads to the everlasting demise of our community. This ain't no motherfucking game, nor is it a conspiracy theory. The more we continue to negotiate with people of power rather than obtaining it ourselves, the longer we'll be stuck like this. Why would you negotiate, which is begging, basically, with someone in hopes to grant you a reality you can control yourself? Man, one of these followers, man, has said one of the most profound things that I didn't even know this myself. He said, Martin Luther King said himself that I fear that I may have integrated my people into a burning house. And if you don't believe it, Google it. Integrating was one of the worst things we could have done. I didn't know that Martin Luther King actually said that himself. As I was saying, when we co-signed the integration, when we were pushing integration in the civil rights movement, we were co-signing herbal renewal, which demolished our businesses and establishments as black people. But this is probably one of the most profound things that furthermore secures what I'm talking about. This actually makes me very emotional. Like, this is sad. This is disheartening to read this. I didn't know that he even saw this coming himself. Like, man, oh, this is crazy. It says, Midway through the civil rights movement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. realized that the struggle for integration would ultimately be a struggle for economic rights. He said his partner, I don't know if you pronounced that right, Belafonte, reflected that he remembers the last time that they were talking at his house shortly before he was murdered. Martin Luther King seemed quite agitated and preoccupied. He said, "What the problem? What is the problem?" He asked his friend Martin Luther King what the problem was. He said, King responded. He says, "I've come upon something that disturbs me deeply. We have fought hard and long for integration, as I believe we should, and I know we will win, but I've come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had, aka she never had, and I'm afraid that even as we integrate, we are walking into a place that does not understand that the nation needs to deeply be concerned with the plight of the poor and disenfranchised." This one quote, verbatim, validates my entire argument. The elites, the white elites, let integration happen so that they can continuously feed off of the poor. They demolished our establishment through urban renewal, which allowed them to make us dependent on them. It's letting the rich feed off of the poor. The sooner that we realize that this is about business, which Martin Luther King said himself, economic value, that's when we'll get out of this. Integration was about helping the whites become stronger, bro. They are not concerned with the plight of the poor and the disenfranchised. Verbatim, he said that. We are poor and disenfranchised. They're not concerned with us. That's why we are still begging in politics. They not concerned with that. He even goes on to say, until we commit ourselves to ensuring that the underclass is given justice and opportunity, we will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that fuels the tears of the soul of this nation. I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. Bro, this actually makes me very sad, like, honestly. Like, this is very emotional for me to read this. And this man died shortly after saying this, ironically. I don't know if this has anything to do with that. That would be a conspiracy. I'm not going to assume that. But, wow. Wow. We can't depend on someone who has power to grant us anything. With power comes corruption. We got to make it happen for ourselves if we want to prosper. I mean, we've seen how far it goes when we depend on politics. Martin Luther King has even said it himself verbatim. The only reason why they granted his wish was because it would benefit them in the long run. This is disheartening. Wow. I thank whoever brought this to light to me. I never even known this was said. So I really thank whoever brought this to light. This was extremely profound for me. But back to the argument. So the guy comes back and then he starts insulting me passive aggressively. He says, anyone who disagrees with me is a sheep. I didn't say that verbatim, but that's what he quotes me on. He said, noted, thanks for entertaining me back and forth. You've shown me how far you can go. Basically insulting my intelligence, saying that that's as far as my thought process can take me. Then he says, I'll leave you and your conspiracy theories to where they stand. I'm like, bruh, nigga, you want to use gangster professionalism? Nigga, I can keep it gangster professionalist better than you, nigga. You ain't better than me, so I'm like, keep begging. You've shown me that's the farthest limit you could go to. You're not even trying to give points on how my perspective is illogical, like how I prove yours is. But instead, you'd rather get emotional and insult me by placing me in the category of a conspiracy theorist rather than seeing this for an actual reality for us. Your mindset is not only sheep-like, but you a weak bitch. No, I'm playing. But it's weak, bro. You weak. Why are you're thinking so one-dimensional? You have no growth mentality. You keep chasing insanity, chasing the same thing for the same result rather than seeing it for what it is and aggregating together. Not one thing have I said would be harmful or lead to our demise, yet you are making us more stagnant. People with your mindset leads to stagnation. Stop it. Cut it out. So, and then this white girl comes back and she's like, go ahead and use your creative ideas amongst yourselves only. See how far you go. LOL, so naive and racist at the same time. You don't even take the time, or you need to stop getting angry at what's wrong and being angry at your own culture, where the ones that want to do positive change and succeed and better, she can't even type, she said, are laughed at, basically saying the ones who want to be better for our community are laughed at, and a straight A kid we laughed at, basically saying that we idolize ignorance and then, we push aside intelligence, which is true. Everything she said is right. But what's pissing me off with her is that she can't correlate what my argument is with fixing the issues. I'm not basking in victimhood. I'm not using any of that as a point to say that, we need this and we're not doing anything on our behalf. I'm talking about how we can strengthen and change the conditions we're in, because I know our people are ignorant. I said, you speak so condescendingly, but yet can't correlate anything that I'm saying with solutions for our community. Aggregating together would build a stronger family structure, alleviating broken homes, and force us to stop looking to rappers and negative influences for validation to raise us. We look into the media to raise us. These are all realities generated from white supremacy. And I'm not using that to play victim or to play the blame game. White supremacy is the lead or cause for all of this, but I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Back to what I was saying, I said the sooner we aggregate wealth and come together as a community and stop looking to the media for guidance and influence, just like everyone else in this country. You don't see Indian rappers with gold chains and grills and Asian niggas with tattoos on their eyes and shit. You don't see that. That is when we will succeed. No one is playing victim. I'm just realizing the problems, but I'm not harping on them. These are true problems, but I'm not harping on them and blaming them on someone else. That would be illogical. This is why I made the initial comment about accepting what is happening or what has happened and finding a solution for it. Basking in victimhood will be begging and for someone to have empathy for us, which is what I'm assuming you should claim we should continue to do. Begging and using the blame game and participating in politics, right? Look, I agree with everything the man said in the video. These are true statements, true realities. But talking about it ain't gonna solve nothing. That's why I'm making this argument. I'm not trying to bask in victimhood. I realize what's happening, but I'm not harping over it. I'm trying to get out of it. Why is me talking about solutions for our community bothering you so much? And then someone calls her out and then calls her racist for saying, let's see how far you go without white people, as if blacks can't do anything without y'all. And, you got to be very careful when you arguing with white people, because they passive aggressive as shit, right? They just passive aggressive assholes. They'll poke around and say all the wrong things, but it's just enough to where if you try and call them out on it, they'll be like, whoa, I wasn't saying it like that. I wasn't even going to play that game with her. I'm fighting logic with logic. She even comes back in here and disrespects me by saying, well, I know a place where you can say whatever you want without a system there. How about you go to South Africa, see how much freedom of speech you have there, and they're all black. And I'm not going to let this distract me from the entire argument, because that was a highly ignorant argument. That's going to offset anybody who reads that. Go to South Africa, they're all black there, you'll like it there. That's basically what she just fucking told me, or freaking told me. But let's not let this distract us from what we're actually trying to talk about. One of my supporters actually came in here and said something extremely profound. She says, he clearly suggests us that we take responsibility for ourselves and stop depending on others. You just don't like how he suggests that black people do it. Like I asked you before, why do you feel the need to announce your stance on an issue that doesn't really concern you? And she called it out. Look, and then the white girl comes back and she was like, I knew you were gonna pull the race card on me. See, you can't even have a debate without calling me racist. Y'all are so victimhood, blah blah. Shut up. You said all the wrong things. You pushed all the wrong buttons. I wasn't going to play that game with you, but someone else got offended and finally called you a racist. I don't really care, because that's not the point of what I'm trying to get at. Both you are just ignorant as hell. I'm not even going to validate you by calling you racist. You're just ignorant. And that's not even what we're talking about, because obviously you don't have reading comprehension to understand what we're talking about. She even tries to use reverse psychology to make me feel guilty about saying that black people should come together. She's like, you're racist. You don't want to work with other people. I said, if you don't get out of here with all that soft ass stuff, how's wanting my people to be as powerful as everyone else racist and degrading towards another race? You don't even know how your own people covertly keep putting us in the same situation that we're in. I'm not blaming you or anyone else because I frankly don't care. All I want is for us to be free of mental imprisonment and to build here just like everyone else has done. Don't try and claim that I'm a racist or don't care about you just because I want to focus on benefiting my creed. That will be basking in victimhood and also make you a hypocrite. None of anything I just said has anything to do with me being racist towards anyone else. Why are you playing victim? You're racist, you're racist. How is me wanting to benefit my people racist? Stop basking in victimhood. You just said I was doing that. Now you're doing that. I never even did that at first. Why are you basking in victimhood? We can do business with other people. We can sell to other people. We can sell to all races. It don't matter. I just want black people to own it, right? That's what everybody else doing here. You know what I'm saying? Asians on the hair and nails, Indians on the gas stations and the chicken restaurants, and whites rule the entertainment industry. Where our profit at? Where we gonna have the money and business established to make money off of other people who need it? We can do business all day with other races, but when are black people gonna own it? She then proceeds to ask me how her race of people keeps us in the same position that we're in, since I'm not blaming her. I said, your people control the entertainment industry and only give people willing to sell out and spread negativity a chance to be successful. Then on top of that, y'all capitalize off of us in the entertainment industry because we make up the majority of it, yet barely own any team franchises, record labels, or any media outlets like CNN and Fox and etc. I mean, y'all own all the record labels and are only willing to sign people who are trending because they're tattooing all over their body and making fads for other people to follow negativity. That's the only type of people y'all give an opportunity to make a lucrative amount of success when you own these industries. Now, is it a little bit of our fault that we don't own the entertainment industries and a little bit of our fault that we choose to follow these trends? Yes. But let's consider some other facets. Excluding slavery, which we were healing from, you also implemented drugs for us to distribute within our communities, which was a strategic plan during the Ronald Reagan era to imprison our fathers, which would then lead to the demise of our family structure. Because without a solid family structure and negative influences portrayed in the media for us to follow, we gonna continue to follow them trends, because that's what's raising us. We look up to Lil Wayne and Drake like fathers. They give us the swag, they give us the game on how to run shit, and we listen to their lyrics and they inspire us because we ain't got no father figures. Now, again, is this a little bit of our fault considering that there are some positive influences out there that we don't follow? Yes, you damn right. Yes, indeed. But even though you may not know, the elites in your community are continuing to cast out mental manipulation over us and acting as if they don't have any control over it. Bro, there are literal relations specialists strategically implementing manipulation over the black community because they know we are the biggest consumers. They are implementing segregation amongst us manipulatively, covertly through the media. By saying feud, have a gender war, do this, do that. They're mentally implanting that in us. The relations specialists hired to do that. So we can still, it's mental manipulation. I mean, there's been MK Ultra. MK Ultra ain't no conspiracy theory. I mean, they're literally, man, I'm about to pull up a commercial right now, bro. And about how they used to mentally manipulate black people as consumers back in the day. It's just you think I'm playing.
Just have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
The Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group.
Now, how's that for a slap to the face, bro? I mean, they literally have strategic marketing specialists on how to appeal on manipulating the minds of black consumers. This is not even that secretive. I think that maybe that was a commercial or something back in 1954. So just imagine how complex the manipulation tactics are to this day. Man, you tripping if you think that your people ain't responsible for mentally and covertly planting seeds and manipulating us. Now, like I said, is it our fault that we choose to follow trends? Yes. I mean, but you can look at the nature of oh my God, man. Of what he just said, the nature of people who do not get a lot of validation or who are not typically granted validation is to seek it out the most. So, I mean, bro, we've been invalidated our whole life. So, man, it's still happening to this day, bro. You see people going out to buy cars, man. They want a BMW, don't even know why. Man, my friend told me why. I didn't even know why BMWs were considered valuable or Rolexes were considered valuable because they don't tick, they slide through, they glide. Or the BMW doesn't make any noise, so that's why it is a desirable car or a luxury car that everybody wants. People just want it because that is the trend and the fad that is fed to them. Our people are constantly fed and fed and fed and fed, and it's no secret that y'all are manipulating us. And if it is, it ain't now, because I just told you. You know what I'm saying? It's just, man, and like I said, this was in 1954, so you cannot change my mind. Without a doubt, I am so sure that all these trends going around like feminism and the LGBT and all these movements that are continuously fed, why? I always question this. People do not question this. Why is so many things being fed and pushed around in the media? Why is media so prevalent into reality? Why? Why are all these trends floating around claiming that they are trying to unite people and be liberal and be free, the same thing that is making us divisive? Why? Why are the same things that are claiming that we should come together dividing us? Why is it a gender war going on? What the hell? No one else is questioning this? No one, are you like, no one else is questioning this? This is off topic, man. I'm going to get back to it, but you really got to take it to consideration and question things, man. Why things are the way they are. People are being mentally manipulated. It's being pushed and forced upon us. Now, it is our fault that people are telling you that we're being manipulated, such as myself. I'm telling you we're being manipulated and you're still going to choose to follow and do whatever you want to do. But it is no secret, at least it shouldn't be a secret, that y'all are manipulating us. Do not play victim. It's over. I just proved it. And this honestly brings me to one conclusion, man, because honestly, and you're probably not going to believe me when I say this, but I've thought about not making these videos anymore because what's the use? What's the use of me trying to force other people to develop this mindset. That's what it feels like at this point. And I don't feel like I should be forcing other people to develop anything, because no perspective is wrong, because perception is reality, right? But this is what I was saying. Someone in here was basically claiming that we're Israelites. And I've heard that before. And I'm honestly starting to develop that logic, because I can sit up here and make 1 hour minute 50-minute videos spitting all facts and won't change a damn thing. Because I just feel like it's been embedded in us, like it's a curse from God. You know, I've been told that we're cursed people because we disobeyed him and didn't follow his commandments. And I'm honestly starting to believe that we're Israelites and we're not following his commandments, because we're the only people on the face of this earth that are so lost, so segregated, don't know who we are as a people, still being mentally manipulated and dominated and divided. It just seems impossible for anyone to fix these conditions without God's intervention. It is people who have died for this shit, died for civil rights, people who are 70 years old and devoted their whole life to preaching about civil rights and how to get out of the position that we're in. They're dying trying. People who devoted their whole music careers and they're still underground. Joey Badass. Not one of his songs barely go on the radio, man. I've never heard a Joey Badass song on the radio. J. Cole album don't go on the radio if you're talking about conscious stuff. It's like, man, no, it don't matter who says what, when they say it, or how they say it, man. And if you do get on a platform or you are inspirational enough to move people by what you say about these type of things, you will get offed. People, they're going to assassinate you or something, man. You're going to end up like Michael Jackson or something. Or they gonna you gonna slip outside and they gonna say you fell over and cracked your head on a penny or something. You slipped on a penny and then you cracked your tooth to the point where it busted a nerve in your artery. I don't know, bro. They're gonna assassinate you and make up some bullcrap story about how you died. If you really just starting to move people with what you say, man. It just seemed like, man, with our people, man, it's like so hard to move y'all unless we are just the hugest influence in the media. You know, you gotta start out by doing ignorant stuff and then start pushing stuff like this. But man, even if you did push something like this, man, it feels like it's not meant to be for someone to do it, because you either gonna get assassinated or you're just not gonna be heard. You know what I'm saying? It just seems so impossible to change the conditions of our community without God. I'm convinced. Maybe we are Israelites.